So as a teacher, you're seeing the next generation of your students, next generation of Americans, of voters. What qualities do they have?
I think as a whole, they have more empathy. At least in my situation, we're very diverse here in this area. We have trans kids, we have LGBTQ kids, we have Muslims. I don't see anything here of real hate or pushback on these kids.
Anthony Nicodemo is a teacher and basketball coach just north of New York City. He's openly gay and talks of today's culture war battles as part of what he sees as larger fights for equality that have always been part of U.S. history.
Throughout our history, all these different movements connect to each other, whether it's suffrage, whether it's, civil rights, labor movement. My father was a laborer for 45 years. As the Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd protests were going on, him animating how he was comparing to the labor movement. And he was defending it almost because he understands that when people get to a breaking point, that's what happens. And I think that particular situation, people were tired of the brutality. They were tired of being treated less than, so they took to the streets. And I think when you look at labor and other such movements, that's exactly how it works in our country.
So when you look around the country, you see on the news people talking about book bans, LGBTQ issues or transgender issues in a school setting, in a classroom. What would you like folks on that side to hear? What would you like them to see?
They need to understand that they can't live in a bubble. And I think when you're in a bubble and everyone you see looks like you or acts like you don't know what's going on outside the bubble. And I always use an example in my classes, if I took one of my kids from the Bronx and I dropped him into the middle of Iowa, he would look odd, right? Because he might not fit in there. So I think that's the bigger piece. We have to understand that there's stuff going on outside the bubble.